Presents. Number 1. The most wealthy person in the history of the world. Maybe someone you've never heard of, but after this, you won't forget him. Mansa Musa controlled a fortune so vast, so extravagant, that modern historians cannot even fathom how much he truly had. He rode across Africa on zebras, carrying thousands of pounds of gold, and that was the equivalent of spare change to him. He became the ruler of the Mali Empire in the early 1300s, when his predecessor went missing, trying to find the end of the Atlantic Ocean. It's too bad his predecessor couldn't just stick to land, because he would have had a pretty incredible life. During Mansa Musa's rule, Europe was struggling immensely. Things like the Great Famine, Civil War, and a fun little thing called Black Death brought all the kingdoms of Europe to its knees. But Mali was doing fantastic. It was the world's largest producers of gold and salt, which were the two most important products at the time. Mansa Musa conquered 24 cities and their surrounding districts within the first few years of his rule, yet he remained distant from the rest of the world. Even in Egypt and the Middle East, little was known about him. But that all changed when Mansa Musa began his journey to Mecca. As a Muslim, the pilgrimage was an important part of his religion, but when you have that kind of money, you don't exactly have to rough it. His voyage to Mecca covered 4,000 miles, and he didn't go at it alone. He brought tens of thousands of soldiers, slaves, and heralds. Every single person wore Persian silk and carried gold staffs. The camels and horses carried hundreds of pounds of gold. There were at least 80 camels that carried between 50 to 300 pounds each. As he journeyed through Africa, he was a spectacle for all to see. He often spent frivolously in cities and even gave gold as gifts. Upon hearing he was approaching Cairo, Al-Nasir, the Sultan, ordered him to visit his palace. Mansa Musa refused, but finally agreed to go upon Al-Nasir's constant insistence. There was a moment of tension with Mansa Musa refused to kiss Al-Nasir's feet, which was a common gesture of respect at the time. He eventually conceded, and Al-Nasir offered him lodging for the night. His time in Cairo was one few could forget, but by the time he left, the streets were covered in gold, and the people were basking in the fortune he had given them. But unfortunately, giving the fortune became a problem. His gifts depreciated the value of metal, and it would take 12 years for the city of Cairo, Medina, and Mecca to financially recover. It is said on his long journey to Mecca that he funded a mosque being built every single Friday. Upon arriving in Mecca, he turned himself to his religion and studies for days at a time. When he returned home, he got to working on building palaces, mosques, and universities throughout his empire. He created Sankor Madrasa, a leading center and university. The university housed 1 million manuscripts, rivaling even that of the Library of Alexandria. Unfortunately,